Please settle in now. Our service is about to begin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, a welcoming and inclusive faith community. We'd like to welcome any guests we have today. Thank you for taking a chance to join us for worship. My name is Jeff Stewart. I'm your worship associate this morning. I'm a member of this congregation and currently serve it as a member of the men's group and a member at large on the Board of Trustees. Our worship service today is led by guest speaker, Reverend Paul Langston-Daley. Reverend Paul was ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister in 1997. He has served as settled interim and consulting minister in congregations of all sizes. He brings his personal experience as a transgender man to this work, along with an extensive background in organizing social justice and guiding congregations through conflict. He holds a master's in divinity from Andover Newton Theological School and a master's degree in restorative practices and youth counseling from the International Institute for Restorative Practices. Reverend Paul brings 30 years of experience in circle work, congregational cultural change, conflict management, and is an IIRP licensed trainer in restorative practices. Video of the service will be available on our website and Facebook page later today. If you care to tweet during today's service, you can use the hashtag UUCSJS. If you are joining from a computer or smartphone, you are encouraged to type any joys or concerns in the chat box area on your screen. In most platforms, it can be accessed by a chat icon at either the top or bottom of the page, and the chat section will open where you can leave a comment and see what others have said. Please remember, this video will be posted on the internet, so do not share information best kept private. Welcome to worship. Welcome into this place of healing. Welcome into this place of challenge and of growth. Welcome into this place of imperfection and aspiration. You are whole in your brokenness. You are holy in your shame. You are wholly loved as you are. We call this light before us in hope. that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place. When we are grieving or sad, when we are challenged, when we need help, this flame guides us out of the darkness. When we are cheerful, when we celebrate, when we accomplish a great task, when we return to a place that makes us happy, the chalice reminds us to share our happiness with others. Please join in singing along where you are, our gathering hymn, number 1010, We Give Thanks. And thanks to the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Choir for sharing this video with us.
Our story this morning is one of the many stories told of the Buddha's reincarnations. In this particular story, the Buddha is born as a monkey king, and in it, he saves his tribe from the dangers and perils of a greedy king.
The story of the Monkey King. Once upon a time, in a mango grove on the bank of a large river, there lived a troop of monkeys. One day, the king of the monkeys called for a meeting. He said, "My dear monkeys, a human town has come up not far from here. They have never tasted mangoes before now. If they do, they will come and take all our mangoes, and we will be in danger of starving." So the monkeys decided to pluck all the fruit from the branches that spread over the river so that no mango could fall and float into the town. But one mango did fall into the water. It floated towards the town and got caught in a fisherman's net. When the fisherman saw the strange fruit, he immediately took it to his king. The king looked at the fruit and called for his advisers. "What is this fruit?" he asked. "Is it good to eat?" "Oh yes, your majesty, it is good to eat. That is a mango, and it grows not far from here," one of his advisers said. Hearing this, the king cut the mango and ate it. The mango was so juicy and delicious that the king decided to set out to find the tree it came from. Reaching the mango grove, the king ordered his men to gather all the fruits they could. But just then, the Monkey King and his troop, who were hiding up in the mango trees, made such a noise in an effort to frighten them away that the king ordered his archers to shoot them all down. The Monkey King saw the archers and called to his troop to escape. "Hurry, we are in danger. Everybody run. Follow me." The Monkey King jumped to a tree branch that stretched over the river and grabbed the branch of another tree on the other side. He then called to the others, saying, "Come, monkeys, climb on my back, and cross to the other side of the river." The monkeys did as they were told, and soon the whole troop was safe. But being in that position, the Monkey King had made himself an easy target for the archers, who pointed their arrows towards him, when suddenly the king said, "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" He had seen how the brave Monkey King had risked his life to save his own kind, and he turned to him and asked, "Why did you make a bridge out of your own body, knowing that you might be caught?" The Monkey King smiled wisely and replied, "My monkeys are safe now. That is all that matters. If you want to be a good king, it is your duty to always put your people first." The king's eyes filled with tears as he turned to speak to his soldiers. "This monkey has shown me how to be a real king," he declared. "Let the monkeys have these mango trees and live peacefully with us from now on." And so the king returned to his palace, and thereafter he became a noble, just, and beloved king. The end.
During this next musical interlude, we invite you to write your joys and concerns in the chat portion of your Zoom screen. The icon will either be on the top or bottom of your screen and will allow you to enter text into the panel where others can see it. At the end of the musical interlude, I will read what you would share with the congregation gathered here today. Please remember that a recording of today's service will be available on the internet. So as a reminder, please do not share things that ought not to be posted on the public internet. Separated as we are by distance, we are joined this morning in spirit, brought together to seek comfort and encouragement, and to share those things in our lives that bring us joy or cause us sorrow. I will now read aloud for all listening what you would share. Alice's concern is that her great-grandpa Frank is dying. From Julie, prayer request for Rosie. From Reverend Paul, prayers for the postal workers struggling to do their jobs. From Sean, concerned that my grandmother has a virus, and joy that Bete is feeling better. From Melissa, concern to all teachers, administrators, students, and parents of students who are navigating a safe return to school. From Terry Ballas, please send good wishes to my son for safe travels and a good semester as he is heading back to campus today. I will miss him. And from Judy Pereira, I'm pleased to see Sean Laird here again today, and now Bete Fisher too. Welcome. And from Tracy Staub, I have a concern for people who need quarters to do their laundry while we have a coin shortage. Some people in our congregation need quarters for laundry. If you have any quarters in your house that you can pass along for congregants, please call me so we can pass them on to those who need them. Tracy's number is in the chat if you would like to write down her phone number to call her. Katie Cardwell, I share both joy and concern for my son who embarked on a bike trip to Boston yesterday with college friends. Reverend Langston-Daley will now lead us in the spirit of prayer.
Great Spirit of love and life, we are ever grateful for the joys and sorrows shared here each week. The strength of our community is expressed in our willingness to ask for help, to be vulnerable, and also to share with others the joy and love we experience in our lives. For these sorrows shared aloud and silently, please know that we hold you in your grief and we hold you close. For all these joys shared aloud and silently, we celebrate with you and lift our voices in common delight. And we hold in our hearts all those who have no place to share their joys and sorrows. May they find a community they seek. May they find peace, love, and companionship. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
We now take a moment to give and receive the morning offering that looks and feels a little different when we are separated by distance. Rather than placing a check or cash in the basket, I ask you to consider a generosity practice of sending a check to our PO box or arranging a regular payment be sent through your bank. You can also use the donate button on our website to make a contribution. Each Unitarian Universalist congregation is self-supporting, so your financial support is essential. 80% of our income to support all that we do comes from the contributions of our members and friends. Please make a contribution at whatever level you can, and we remind you that no matter how those gifts are offered, they are always most gratefully received. Thank you.
And now please join us as we reflect in words and silence The Buddha's Last Instructions by Mary Oliver.
Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness, to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and violet, even green. An old man, he laid down between two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing it was his final hour. The light burns upward. It thickens and settles over the fields around him. The villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen, even before the sun itself hangs disattached in the blue air. I am touched everywhere by its oceans of yellow waves. No doubt he thought of everything that had happened in his difficult life. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills, like a million flowers on fire. Clearly I'm not needed, yet I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly, beneath the branches, he raised his head. He looked into the faces of that frightened crowd.
Good morning. It's good to be with you all this morning. Thousands of years ago, the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and meditated. And in that state, he became awake. I believe that means that in scientific language, he quieted his amygdala and his parietal lobe and extended his awareness to gain a deeper truth about the mind and consciousness. And in so doing, he awoke to a new truth. He taught as a result of that awakening that we are all inherently interdependent. He taught that there is ultimately no self, that we all come from the same essence and return to it. If we wish to extricate ourselves from this illusory world, we too can and must awaken. Buddhism seeks liberation from samsara, this notion of the endless cycles of birth and death and rebirth, as we learn the lessons necessary to allow us to free ourselves. Those who learn these lessons and keep coming back to liberate others are called bodhisattvas. They return to shine a light for others to follow. They return for collective liberation. In Buddhism, liberation is both deeply personal and collective. The ultimate goal for the Buddhist is to awaken, to experience nirvana, the inexplicable and unmistakable and inherent truth that we are all interdependent and interconnected, made of the same stuff, the same star stuff as everyone and everything else. We recognize this, and at the same time, we recognize also that there are cultural differences that influence us in this time. The elements that contribute to who we are, that make us unique as human beings in this time and this place. Buddhism also recognizes the trauma and pain, the suffering that results from the lack of collective liberation, from the othering and blaming and shaming that we do to one another, from the assaults and violence that we witness every day. The most recent protests for racial justice have shown us the very brutality that the protesters are seeking to change by peaceful means. This is the kind of violence communities of color and indigenous communities face all the time. Traumas compounded by 4 centuries of violence committed towards people simply because of the color of their skin or their indigenous status. Jewish families also carry generational trauma from the Exodus to the Inquisition to the Holocaust to increasing levels of violence in recent years. It is appropriate, I think, to be attached to the liberation of all beings, to collective liberation. I am compelled by my beliefs to work to eliminate racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, and all of the other ways in which we label others and label others as less than. Collective liberation recognizes the inherent beauty and worth in all sentient beings. Collective liberation seeks to elevate and emulate all those things that nurture and feed collaboration and life and love, and seeks to dismantle all those things that nurture and feed violence and hatred and division. Buddhism recognizes this even if our fellow human beings do not. The calls for justice for Carlos Carson, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Rhea Milton, Dominique Remé Phelps. Say their names. The calls for justice are a call to collective liberation, a peaceful call for change, to care for the most vulnerable among us. I believe it is true that none of us are free until all of us are free. And the Buddha understood this. Our task as people of faith is to act as if this were true, to follow the lead of those that we admire and trust, those who seek to nurture and feed collaboration and life and love, to find the bodhisattvas in our lives and to follow their lead and example, to live our own lives towards collective liberation. And our task as white people of faith is to follow the bright beacon of those Black, Latina and Latino and Indigenous people who are leading us to remember that we are all connected, all united, even in our cultural differences. We are connected, united in our belief that those things that nurture and feed collaboration and life and love are things we wish to enable and engender in the world. And those things that nurture and feed violence and hatred and division are the things we wish to dismantle and dismiss from our world. Our task as people of faith is to remember that we are, each of us, something of inextricable value, fabulous in all our glory. We each have so much to offer. The Buddha taught this with his dying words: make of yourself a light. You can offer even a small light on a pathway for others to follow, no matter how dim that light may seem to you. When we share with others our mistakes, they become cautionary tales. When we share with others our successes, they become lessons that others might also follow and find success. In the Dhammapada, sometimes considered the essential teachings of the Buddha, he teaches, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. Speak and act with an impure mind, and trouble will follow you as the wheel follows the ox that draws the cart. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as your shadow, unmistakable. In this world, hatred never yet dispelled hate. Only love dispels hate. This is the law, ancient and inexhaustible. You too shall pass away. Knowing this, how can you quarrel? So I ask, who do you wish to be? How do you wish to live? I invite you to make of yourself a light, to practice being the person you wish to be each day, every day. Keep practicing. Let your light show. Let it brighten and shine. This is how we change the world. Together. Amen. Blessed be, and Ashe.
Thank you, Reverend Paul, for that wonderful piece. Today's closing reading is adapted from Octavia Butler's Book of the Living, verse 43, to benefit your world. To shape God with wisdom and forethought, to benefit your world, your people, your life, consider consequences, minimize harm, ask questions, seek answers, learn, teach, and remember, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Let's read the words together for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now please enjoy our musical postlude. Thank you, Barbara. That piece was performed by, of course, by Barbara Miller. Barbara also shared a wonderful message after Reverend Paul's sermon. I never tire of the Buddha's wisdom, lovingly and skillfully delivered. So true. And now I'd like to share some announcements. Reverend Dawn is back in the office, and she's available for pastoral care appointments Wednesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can also reach out to our volunteer pastoral care team for support. Reverend Dawn will return to our virtual pulpit in September. We will have our inaugural ingathering and water ceremony on September 13th. With services on Zoom, it will certainly be a different experience. To make this one special, and hopefully the only one we have to experience in quarantine, we would like to create a slideshow composed of photos of water from your personal collection. The background music will be played by Barbara Miller and perhaps other musicians. Because we would like to include photos from everyone, please send 1 to 3 photos only, your favorites. Please send the photos to Reverend Dawn by September 1st. As the pandemic wears on, our ability to connect with each other within this congregation gets more and more challenging. We yearn for meaningful connection, for stimulating exchanges, for challenging growth of both mind and spirit. With that in mind, Reverend Fortune is implementing some new programming for the fall. Small group ministry, which will meet monthly. If you are interested in participating in or leading a small group, please reach out to Reverend Dawn. And Adult RE is back. 2 classes for adults will be offered in September and October. Bible study for UUs and other skeptics. And this, I believe, exploring and claiming your own theology. Please refer to your midweek announcements for more information. The worship team is updating its list of volunteers and welcomes fresh faces to our virtual services. We are looking for 2 things in particular. People to serve as worship associates, as I'm doing right now. People to lead worship by offering a sermon or a message of about 15 minutes in length. Contact Deb Dagavarian if you're interested. Please take the opportunity to keep virtually connected. This week at UU, of course, virtually, on Tuesday, we have the Learning Lab for Children and Youth with Jess at 3 p.m. On Thursday, Common Arts for DIY Hearts is meeting at 7 p.m. And other regular events we have, the Still Singing program is Wednesday, August 12th and the 26th at 6:45 p.m. The Family Fun Game Night, second and fourth Fridays of each month at 7 p.m. The Buddha Sangha meets evenings on the first, second, and third Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. and the last Saturday of the month at 10 a.m. And Heartfulness Meditation meets Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:25 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:25 p.m. and Saturdays at 7 a.m. Please refer to details in your midweek announcements. If you need to schedule or reschedule a meeting or an event, please reach out to the admin at UUCSJ, well, I won't read that, UUCSJSadmin@gmail.com to have the calendar altered. We warmly welcome all of you who are visiting today. Please stay and socialize in our online social time so that we can get to know each other a little better. Now let us share in a moment of silent reflection to consider today's message and the meaning it has in our lives.